Welcome to Pulse Check, where we have quick conversations about how to help people in Alabama live healthier lives. Today's guest is someone who's been with us before, so you may remember Carol Gunter. She has dedicated years to supporting cancer patients and families across our community. She leads the Cancer Wellness Foundation, an organization focused on helping people navigate the challenges that come with a cancer diagnosis, not just medically, but emotionally, financially, and practically as well. Through programs, partnerships, and direct support, the foundation works to meet the real life needs that many families face during treatment, things people don't often think about until they're in the middle of it themselves. Carol, thank you so much for being here again today to talk about the work your organization is doing and why that support matters so deeply. For people
Thank
who
you.
may not be familiar, what is the Cancer Wellness Foundation and what is your mission?
The Cancer Wellness Foundation has been around for 30 years next year, which is it's so hard to believe. But our mission is to support patients emotionally, physically, give them education support, practical support, and not just for patients who are uninsured. Many of our patients are insured or underinsured. And that's something that I like for people to understand. We're not just helping patients that may be living at the poverty level or below, rural communities. We're helping your neighbors. We're helping your coworkers. So many of our patients are regular people who work, have jobs, have families, and many of them do have insurance.
Well, when somebody receives a cancer diagnosis, what are some of the needs beyond medical treatment? Because insurance, you have it, you may not have it, you're, sufficiently covered or deficiently covered, but there's so much beyond medical. So talk about that. What are some of the things when somebody receives that cancer diagnosis beyond medical that they might need that people don't even think about?
So there are many needs that a cancer patient has once they receive a cancer diagnosis. Of course, our foundation was built because of the needs of these patients that were identified by the oncologist. Once a cancer patient receives a diagnosis, they are scheduled for treatment. They're given medications. And with that, a lot of needs have been identified. And of course, I instantly think about our programs that we have. Our medication assistance, which is for those patients on oral chemotherapy meds. We have a medication coordinator that works for the Cancer Wellness Foundation, and she spends all day, every day, working on getting the medication paid for, medication grants for these cancer patients. 10 years ago, we did $5 million worth of medication grants. We are over $40 million annually in medication grants today. There are a lot of reasons for that increase. More physicians and oncologists are prescribing oral chemotherapy meds because the pharmaceutical companies have come out with a lot of different ways for patients to receive chemo. So it's not always chemo that everyone thinks about in the treatment room here at the Cancer Center, though there are still many who do receive that. But we also have a program that's the WellCard program. And Angie, in our first part of our talk together, I talked about things that since my husband's diagnosis, I have either learned from, come to appreciate, and this WellCard program is certainly one of those programs. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to the WellCard program. I knew it was something that the medication coordinator handled. I knew that it was something that we worked with the apothecary at the Cancer Center with, but I never really took the time to fully understand it because it's one of our, I guess, budget-wise, smaller programs. Boy, do I understand the impact of that program now. What it is we have two different color cards, and the card are based on income and need of the patient. And what these cards do is they allow the patient to pay a $2 or a $4 copay for all of their supplemental meds. I didn't understand what supplemental meds meant, but in the past year, my husband has probably gotten, I can't even 30 to 40 prescriptions filled at the apothecary to support his needs through cancer, neuropathy, pain, fever, nausea. He has a prescription for to take the 2 days after he gets chemotherapy. He has his first 9 to 10 months, he had additional blood pressure meds. We have spent so much money on medications at the apothecary, and I did not realize how many prescriptions a cancer patient has to have outside of, even if they're taking, if they get a diagnosis and they're already on medications, just think about all of these additional medications. So that WellCard program is just so important for patients. They're paying $2 for a prescription that may cost them $95, their part out of pocket or more, like I said. And when I pick up my husband's prescriptions, I'm getting 3 and 4 refills at a time or a new prescription. So that WellCard program, gosh, I have just such a great appreciation for how beneficial it is for our patients that need that. And what a great program it is. And I really wanted to talk about that because it is something that you and I both talked about, the things that I fully understand on a more personal level now that it's part of my life. It's always been part of my work life, but now it's so important.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that last episode. And for anybody who hasn't seen Carol share more about her personal story, go back, find that one, watch it. It's called Both Sides of the Battle. And that kind of leads into my next question. What are some of the biggest struggles families face outside of the cancer world that they may not be prepared for?
Yeah, and this is kind of goes back to our last question and this question. And I talked in the first episode a lot about our transportation program, needing just transportation for everyday needs. When patients are going through chemo or they're going through radiation, they are weak. Their daily lives look a lot different. Some days, my husband had chemo on Monday and he would not be able to drive a vehicle right now. He can't do a lot of things for himself. So I think that something so important is to have a support system. We give a lot of support to our patients, but I think something that people don't realize families struggle with, there are a lot of people who don't have support systems. And, through my personal journey and working with our patients, if you know someone who is battling cancer and they don't have a lot of family, just bringing them a meal, offering them a ride, offering to pick up their medications. There are so many needs that a cancer patient has that unless you know, you don't know. And there are so many struggles just with functioning and getting daily things done. My husband owns a small business. There are many days that he struggles to run that business. And so, I've had to step in and do some things to help his business, and just like I said, just kind of being there. And it's the little things really that people don't realize, but there are so many things that we can do, the community can do, but we're always looking for ways here at the Cancer Wellness Foundation to help patients. And when they come in, we talk to them, we find out their needs, we know about their family. Oftentimes a family member will come with them because they are their transportation. So it's been great to see the support that some of them have, but it's also sad to see that many of them do not have the support that they need.
You mentioned the day-to-day support that is offered through the Cancer Wellness Foundation. What would you say to somebody who maybe doesn't have as much support or they've gotten that cancer diagnosis and they don't want to, and I'm sure you've seen this, they don't want to bother anybody, right? And
Yeah.
so you mentioned those friends, community, neighbors that would pitch in and help, but nobody knows. So what would you say to that
Right.
person who has just found out as far as how to share that information, how to share their diagnosis, how to rally support?
And There's so many things that a cancer patient can do to get support, but like you said, it's so hard for so many people to ask for help. Being the caregiver, it's been hard for me at times. Just wanting it to, like, my husband needs something and I have something that I need to be doing, and instead of calling another family member or a friend to do it for him, I do it myself. So I even struggle, and I'm a pretty open book about our whole cancer journey. Everybody in the community knows I'm a very transparent, very open, kind of used our journey to encourage others, to help others, and just to bring people along on our struggles. And said this many times, and I've said this in conversations with you and with others and in our last podcast, but, it's very humbling and it's very hard to ask for help. But I just think that I would encourage anyone who has a diagnosis, who is a caregiver, just ask for help. And just, there are resources out there. There are many resources for breast cancer patients. I talk about this a lot because colon cancer is so near and dear to me, and it is a big thing that we do at the foundation. Breast cancer 20 years ago was not talked about. Now breast cancer is the most. There's so much information, so much knowledge, so many tools, so many resources out there. And it's not that there are less resources for other cancers. It's just that breast cancer is so, I don't mean to say commercialized, but it's so talked about, and there's all kinds of names for it and events and all surrounding in October. So, our goal is always to get resources for all of the other cancers as well. May is melanoma cancer awareness. It's leading, right into summer. But ironically, it's also bladder cancer and month. And people don't realize that, because melanoma is skin cancers, something we hear about. There are lots of things in the news, in the media, skincare, all of that. And so just, there are resources out there for everything. And I just encourage people to reach out, call us at the Cancer Wellness Foundation. We are always connecting people with resources, but just don't do it on your own, and don't suffer anymore. And don't let your family member or your, your spouse or brother or mother struggle without finding resources, because they're everywhere. We just today are doing a partnership with the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, and they have a program called Food is Medicine. It is an amazing program. We do a nutrition program here at the Cancer Wellness Foundation year round, but that is primarily Boost and Ensure for patients. But the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, they give out a few times a year. They partner with us at the Cancer Center, and today they are giving away boxes of food, and they have it set up, and the patients that the Montgomery Cancer Center has identified, they come and they get a box of food, and food is medicine, and just things like that. There's so many resources and so many things available. And if I could talk to every single cancer patient and tell them about everything, I wish I could, because there are resources. You just have to sometimes put in a little work and find them.
Remind us, you spoke about it when we had our last podcast, the counties that you serve. How many and where kind of located?
Yeah, so 32 counties in central Alabama, and that is something that I wish more people realized, how big our footprint is. Actually, we are central Alabama of the state, all the way south. We even have a few patients in Baldwin County. Bill has actually a foundation, and has a foundation that assists patients county in Auburn, and then of course Birmingham. But we basically cover, and I don't know how this happened. I was actually talking about this the other day. Those foundations that I just mentioned, they primarily assist patients in their area, and we assist patients in all the other counties. So we have a large footprint, and the way that is determined is our patients have to see the physicians at the Montgomery Cancer Center or the Prattville Clinic. So so Lee County residents are seeing oncologists in Lee County. And so that's how our area is determined. It's about the patients and the physicians that they see. So if we have a patient in Montgomery, for instance, that is seeing an oncologist in Birmingham and getting treatment in Birmingham, we don't assist that patient. The foundation in Birmingham would assist that patient. So that's kind of how that works. It's all determined by who is their oncologist, where are they getting treatment, and that's kind of how our footprint is determined.
Thank you for that. That's great to know because we're hoping that people in Huntsville will see this and people all across the state. It's good to know that they can look for a Cancer Wellness Foundation similar program in their own areas as well.
Yes, and Huntsville has some amazing foundations.
Well, what's something that people often misunderstand about what cancer patients and families really need? We talked about food, emotional support. What are some things like a friend or a neighbor could do? Should they go out and buy 18 frozen casseroles or put a card in the mail? Like what would be some practical everyday, like here's a couple of things you could do really quick?
I've talked about this, and I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's so important. I think there's so much you can do, but then I remember when Bill first got his diagnosis, and still today, people will text me, "What can I do?" That line has been asked of me many, many, many times over the past year and a month. What can I do? And it's so easy to say, just pray. But that at first, I didn't know what we needed. I had no idea. I was just as overwhelmed with the news as they were hearing it for our family. But, we had some friends set up a meal train, and that meal train was the best thing for our family. The meal train was us. Now, is that the best thing for everybody? Probably not, but it was amazing. I'm so glad I said yes to them setting that up. And bringing a meal is always a blessing, whether it's a frozen casserole. But I did find that the meals that we didn't have to do anything, that we didn't have to cook ourselves, that was ready to eat was always the best for our family. I don't particularly love cooking. Actually, that has always been Bill's department. He loves to go to the grocery store. He loves to cook. So that role was changed. And so for our family, having those meals, me not having to go to the grocery store every day or all the time and plan meals was just such a blessing for us. And, we are now, part of our journey is traveling to MD Anderson, and gosh, just help with that has been such a blessing. It is, with the cost of fuel and flights, and there are so many burdens that come along with a cancer journey, burdens, emotional and physical, of course. But when we were our first trip to MD Anderson, I'll never forget. Bill and my husband's a foodie, so his greatest joy still today is food and looking up menus and getting to go to a restaurant in another city. So we don't get to do that as often, obviously, but when we do, even if it's a trip to Houston, MD Anderson, that is something that he wants to do. So we had a treat night the last time we went to MD Anderson, and I have a group of friends. We take pictures all the time of our food and our drinks, and and I had sent a picture to a group of friends, and long story short, came time to pay the bill, and one of my friends had called the restaurant and paid our bill, and my husband and I both instantly get emotional because wow, I mean, what a generous gesture. I mean, I know I'm gonna get emotional just thinking about it, but
And a fun surprise too.
Yes, and, I knew instantly who it was, and she was so embarrassed, 'cause I texted her as soon as we left the restaurant, but just there can still be pockets of joy through this journey. It's hard. We're going back to MD Anderson. We're leaving, in a few days, and we don't know what we're gonna hear, what we're gonna be told. But it's just there are pockets of joy, and I know I've said a lot and not answered your question very well, but I just think that they're just supporting. I mean, I've had people send me devotional books that have been amazing. I've had people just do it's the small things that matter so much.
I remember somebody sent you flowers and you thought it was me and you texted and you're like, thanks for the flowers. Do you remember
I
that?
did, because you're so sweet and you're so kind. And it was funny because the card
What?
said, thinking about you, Angie. And I immediately thought about you. I did not realize how many Angies I know, but I did find the right Angie.
So even sending flowers,
Yes.
even sending a note, those are things people
I
can do to
mean,
support.
just listen. And it doesn't have to be, a $500 donation or a home cooked meal. It can be something, a handwritten card. I got one of those this week. It's just knowing you're not alone. And Angie, something you and I have talked about that means so much to me, because if Bill's journey can help others do better, get their colonoscopies, and I feel like, in so many ways, God has put me on this pen. We have had so many people reach out to us and say they scheduled their colonoscopies, they made their husbands schedule their colonoscopies. And if that is the one thing that people learn from our journey, just scheduling your doctor's appointment. If it's not a colonoscopy, going to see the doctor when you're having symptoms of something, paying attention to symptoms, because early detection, ironically, colon cancer is one of the easiest to be cured if you find it early. Oftentimes, people don't want to get a colonoscopy and they put it off. And so the diagnosis is stage 3, stage 4. So, I mean, that is helpful to me. For somebody to tell me they schedule, all of my sisters have had colonoscopies now within Bill's journey. And so I feel like that is such a blessing, and that means a lot to our family, just to know that people, they what we're saying, go get checked, go get your colonoscopies, and just scheduling those appointments. It's so important.
Perfect. Well, I think you've given a lot of different ways to show support, and I appreciate that. I think most people want to help and don't know where to start. And you and I, have straddled the line, I think, beautifully between your personal journey and your professional career, bringing it back to your professional career in the most difficult circumstances, in the middle of those circumstances. What continues to give you hope through this work, through the Cancer Wellness Foundation?
You know, um, I've talked a lot. We were founded 29 years ago. I tell people all the time that we were created because patients were having to choose between paying their electricity bill or paying for their medications. They were having to choose between paying their mortgage or getting their medications. And just knowing that we are here now and patients aren't having to make those choices, it's just so rewarding to know that we are here to help patients directly with their needs. We're not sending money to a parent company to do research, though research is very, very important. And those organizations are very vital to cancer and cancer research. But every bit of money and resources that we have goes directly to the patient in real time. We put real money from our budget onto their reloadable gas cards to use at a gas station. We have a transportation company go to their house, pick them up, bring them to the cancer center, and take them home. We are covering the cost of their medications. We are allowing them to pay $2 and get their medications from the apothecary. We are physically going to Sam's and Costco and Publix and buying Ensure and Boost, and it's being given to the cancer patient. So everything that we are doing, they come to our office, they get wigs. Everything we are doing goes directly to support a patient and their families. That's something that what we're doing, we're not just helping the cancer patient, we're helping their families by providing their transportation. So a spouse or a family member doesn't have to take off work to come and travel 2 hours to the cancer center. So everything we do is really to help quality of life for the cancer patient, to help alleviate stress and worry and fear. And I feel like what we are doing here at the Cancer Center is just so important. And I'm just so thankful for the support that we get, not only from the physicians at the Montgomery Cancer Center, but the whole administration and staff. We're not a part of Baptist. We work side by side, and we work with all of the Montgomery Cancer Center's patients and staff, but we are an independent foundation funded solely through fundraisers, grants, and donations. We are not funded through Baptist, and so all of the money that we do, the work we do, all goes back to help the patient. So that's why we're here. And I hope that we're here for 30 more years helping cancer patients, because cancer's not going away, and more friends and family and neighbors and community leaders are getting diagnosed every day. It's one thing that there's no specific demographic, there's no specific tax bracket that cancer doesn't touch. And so I'm just so thankful that we're here, and we are able to help so many patients.
Well, last question. We've covered a lot, and you may have said it all, and that's fine. But is there anything else that you wish more people in Alabama knew about what the Cancer Wellness Foundation does in the community? And part B to that question, if someone does want to support your mission, where would they start?
Oh gosh, we have a lot of ways to support our mission. I'll start with that. We have fundraisers throughout the year that are very easy to support. We have our Women in Blue campaign in March every year. It's Colon Cancer Awareness Month. And chances are, one of our women out in the community raising money. We also have in October, we have Beat the Odds. It's a really fun fundraiser that we have. But also, we have something that I don't think I've talked about yet. We have something called the Chemo Comfort Care Bags, and those are something that goes to every single cancer patient that receives the diagnosis, not just those that need our assistance, medication, transportation. It's every single cancer patient. And it is a bag full of 11 items that have been identified to bring the patient comfort: a blanket, socks, chapstick, those types of things. And we receive donations for those items all the time. If you have a Bible study or a sorority or any type of organization that wants to do a service project, they can pick one item and collect fuzzy socks during the month of July and bring them to the Cancer Wellness Foundation. Or we have organizations that collect all of the items, and then I provide them the bags, and then they stuff the bags and bring them back to us. But there are lots of ways to donate items for our Chemo Comfort Care Bags. That's something that anyone in the community can do, and it's a really fun way to get a group to do a service project. We also have a donation button on our website that anyone can go to at any time. It's cancerwellnessfoundation.org. You can make a donation in honor of someone, in memory of someone. There is a form that you fill out. It's super easy, and we will send a letter to the person or the family that you're making the donation in honor or in memory of. We also will send you a letter. It's a tax write-off for you. And so there are all kinds of ways to make a donation or to support the Cancer Wellness Foundation. And all of those ways are tax deductible, and they go directly to help our patients in Central Alabama. So I feel like I've talked about so much that we do. So many partnerships that we have are amazing. I love to connect the business community with our events or with things that we do for our patients. And so I'm always looking for ways to partner in the community. So if you are part of an organization that wants to sponsor or get involved with the Cancer Wellness Foundation, or if there's someone in your organization that has cancer and you want to create something for them, I'm always open to helping with that. There there are so many things about the Cancer Wellness Foundation that people don't realize, and I think we've talked about all of it, but it's the our footprint in Central Alabama. It's that we have 6 programs and they're all helping patients in different ways. We do provide lymphedema garments for cancer patients. That is Women of Hope is a breast cancer organization, and they actually give us a grant every year because lymphedema garments are prescribed to breast cancer patients who have had surgery, and oftentimes insurance does not cover that, and so or it covers part of it. So we pay for that. We pay for 2 garments, and I say garments because depending on that patient's need, they may need gloves, they may need socks, they may need a sleeve. It depends on where their swelling is and where their point of need is based on this type of surgery that they had. Those are items that they truly need and oftentimes can't afford. And so they go get that filled, and we get the invoice and we pay it with that grant that we received from Women of Hope. So that's just another way that we've partnered with an organization in the community, all to benefit our patients. And that's really why we're here. So yeah,
That's awesome.
we are always looking for ways to help people.
Perfect. Well, thank you for coming back, Carol. That is awesome. This is great information specifically about the Cancer Wellness Foundation. If anybody watching wants to learn more about Pulse, or you want to view more stories like this one, go to alabamapulsemagazine.com. And if you have any ideas on topics or who we should interview next, let us know in the comments. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Angie.